Hey, this is Linz, and you are watching Support the Scene.
Hello, everybody. This is Ali from Support the Scene. It's so good to be back again today at Fifth Chord Studios. As always, our wonderful sponsors. Today, we are speaking with Ryan Stringer, and he is from Signal Static, a really kick-ass band coming from Vancouver Island. I believe it's Victoria. I could be wrong. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Was I wrong? Are you from Victoria?
3/4 of us are from Victoria and 1/4 from Nanaimo.
Okay, great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who is in your band currently? Because I understand there's been a little bit of a change up since the pandemic has become an endemic.
Yes. So currently, there's me, Ryan. I am lead vocals. Formerly, I was on bass for the first 7 years of the band, and then I transitioned over to lead vocals over the last kind of year and a bit. We have Gino Klein, who is our guitar player and also our kind of resident engineer, who records all of our stuff for us. And then Randy Camponi is our drummer, and our new bass player is Alex Baudouin from Nanaimo. So.
Fabulous. I definitely would love to hear more about how you found each other and what got you started.
For sure. Let's see. I think we go back to about 2008 when I was in a band with a buddy of mine, and that band sort of ended. So we were looking for new projects to get involved with, and we ended up hooking up with Gino. And we formed a project with him that was kind of short-lived. He ended up having to move to the mainland. And so we went on the hunt for another project, and that project was a band called Year of the Rat. And Year of the Rat was around for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And we actually were somewhat prolific around Victoria. We released a couple of EPs, played a lot of shows. And we went through quite a few drummers. And the last and best of which was Randy. And so when Year of the Rat kind of came to an end somewhat unceremoniously, we kept in touch, and we actually worked on a couple of other projects together that were kind of short-lived as well. And then life goes on, and we kind of kept in touch, but we didn't really see each other for a while. I ended up dating a woman in Washington State who I'm now married to. And sort of fast forwarding to around 2015, I was going down there every weekend to visit her, and on one of my return journeys, I happened to bump into Gino on the ferry on the way back, and he let me know that he had just moved back to Victoria, and so we started jamming and writing a couple of songs, and we figured, we should make a band out of it. So when I got married, I made a point of introducing him and Randy, because I knew that I wanted Randy to get on board with this project. And that was kind of the beginning. And the three of us kind of got together, jammed for a while, wrote some songs, sort of the first handful of what would become Signal Static songs. And then we got together. We decided, we needed a lead singer. I was playing bass at the time. And so we ended up finding our previous lead singer, Connor, and we recorded our first album with him, played a bunch of shows around town. And then, the album that we recorded is called Start Transmission. And we released it literally on the heels of COVID. In fact, we were, running around trying to get the last of the vocal tracks recorded before COVID restrictions started coming into place and locking everybody down. And so we did, which was great, but we really literally had, days to spare. And then, of course, by the time we were able to release it, COVID was in full force, and we really, had to go on hiatus for the better part of a year, pretty much. And unfortunately, Connor decided to leave the band, largely because of the COVID thing, because we just weren't really able to be active. And there were some creative, differences that we had as well, and it just kind of seemed like the right time to part ways. Still friends. And so when we started getting back together, the three of us, and thinking about, well, where do we go from here? we were still very much in the midst of COVID, so we didn't really feel like it was an appropriate time to start auditioning new people. So the three of us just got together and we decided, well, we can't really do much to promote the album. We can't play shows, we can't do all that kind of stuff. So let's just reinvent ourselves. And so we spent, the next, year and a half, 2 years, kind of the three of us doing that. And, I had already been writing a lot of the lyrics and vocals for the band, even, back in the sort of first phase. And so it kind of felt natural for me to, at least record our demos and that kind of stuff, record the vocals for those. And over time, we started to, finally talk to some singers, and we talked to some real maniacs. and we kind of decided at some point that it was going to be very difficult to find a singer who really represented us, who could be the front man. And we also, at the same time, decided that we liked how I sounded on our recordings. And so it was kind of put out there, well, why doesn't Ryan do it? And I was a little freaked out because I'd never really done anything like that before. But as we progressed, we realized, yeah, this is probably the better choice, rather than me trying to either play bass and sing, which I don't really have the skill set to do, at least not with the music that we're playing. It's a little too complicated rhythmically to sort of play bass effectively and sing at the same time. And so we hunted for a bass player, and we found Alex, who thankfully has been just a really, really stalwart new bass player for us. It was a weird transition for me to get my head around to put the bass down, but he had a really similar style to me, and if anything, he's better than me. And so it's been working out really well.
Well, I really appreciate that, usually it is actually often you see it's the bass player that leaves and they're always replacing a bass player, according to most of the bands that I'm familiar with in my personal life. So it's really interesting. The bass player now becomes a lead singer and he's got to find a new bass player, but it's like for a different type of reason. But in your bio, you mention how your music is about, you draw from Chevelle, Tool, and Muse, Queens of the Stone Age, but what do you really, what are your inspirations when you're coming up with music? What were your earlier musical inspirations besides those ones listed?
Well, I think musically, for me, the music that I listen to more often than not is what I grew up with, which is kind of 80s, new wave, kind of, Depeche Mode, The Cure,
Nice.
That kind of stuff. I just love that, and it's kind of like the music that's playing in my house all the time. So I kind of drew a lot of inspiration myself from that. And then also, I loved Muse, loved sort of Metric, and those kinds of sort of dance punky kind of bands. Mm-hmm. Gino very much came from a sort of Tool, sort of heavier, almost proggy kind of style. And Randy has a list of influence that spans funk and hip hop, and he does electronic music himself as well. So we had a really varied kind of set of influences coming in that we've really worked hard at melding together.
Fabulous. I've also noticed that what's really interesting about your band is that I'm finding, like, especially it's even written here, what does it mean to be human, and more importantly, to be a good human? And I find it very, like, when we're writing music, we really want to consider who we are speaking with and who are we affecting, and how do we evolve through music, like as people. Like, music is the soundtrack to our lives, an inspiration, a guidance. And you have a new track that has come out, your latest one. And can you tell me a little bit about that? I know that I've read that there was a bit of a situation that has come up in your personal life that maybe you can speak to, because as a woman myself, in the music industry, I have witnessed some things that were unbecoming on my way to where I'm going in life, and
I'm sure you have.
I have faced quite a few things, and it's quite a lonely place to be. So to have people that stand behind you, with you, and for you is extremely crucial. Especially right now, we're seeing a change in the industry, and I'd like to hear about your experience and share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the song is called "Objects of Affection," and it's kind of a, the title to me was an allusion to the idea that there's people out there who make you feel like they are giving you affection when really they're manipulating you and abusing you. And it kind of came about. So the band had signed to a record label, it's sort of a local record label in Victoria, and it was a really kind of cool community of different artists, and many of which we're still very close friends with and collaborators with. But it kind of came out at a certain point that the person who was running the record label had a history of sexual abuse and grooming, for lack of a better word. But it was actually quite a shocking allegation that came out. And then once that happened, it was kind of a cavalcade of other women coming out and saying kind of the same thing they'd been through with this person. And so when this first hit, we immediately kind of said, well, we have to cut ties because there's no way that we're going to be associated with somebody who's acting like this. And so we put out an announcement that we were leaving the label, and, sort of a bit of a high level summary of what we knew about it, because we hadn't witnessed anything ourselves, obviously, but it was very serious, and we wanted to make sure we were supporting the people who were having these experiences. And once we kind of made that announcement, a number of women started messaging me and messaging the band saying, hey, what's going on? We've had these issues too. And I think at the end of the day, there was, something like 20 different women who came out with similar experiences they'd had, and then a whole bunch of others who had been warned by other women to stay away from this person. And it turned out to be this really, really awful open secret. We sort of nicknamed him the Harvey Weinstein of Victoria. But people knew about it, but they just weren't talking about it because he had, a lot of influence in the sort of music scene and was seen as a mentor to many people. And so anyway, it was a really, really crappy situation. We felt terrible that we were involved with it at all. But, that song really came to me as a way of calling it out, and, being very clear about where I stood and where the band stood on this.
Right. I have noticed it just up until now, it's been just so much easier to not tell people, to just like when things happen to me, I'm just like, well, what are you going to do? This person has the power. He's exploiting it. But I mean, I can only speak to him directly. I don't want to out him. I don't want to cause a trouble. I definitely don't need a community. Like I didn't need the pressure of, well, what happened? And like getting so deep. And it's just like, hey, maybe I'll just not say anything. So I thank you on behalf of women like myself who have experienced some difficult times in the past in all industries, not just the music industry, and to have people like you who actually are willing to put their own personal careers like in view of this and go, listen, like what's more important here? Are we going to stand together and be united and have a better future for everyone? Or are we just going to keep that the way it is and never say anything and just keep progressing in the road with these people instead of finding a way to go around above or under? So
well, unfortunately, as I've had the opportunity to have a lot of these conversations and get to know, women, and be able to talk about this stuff, I think that experience is super common, and it's something that I certainly was not as aware of. The fact that more often than not, when this happens, women don't report it because it's more painful and more trauma and more awful process of trying to do that or trying to get any kind of justice for it than the original event even was, which is awful.
Sometimes even just guilt of putting someone, because we're so compassionate. Sometimes we're
yeah.
even more worried about, oh, what's going to happen to them? You know, it's so crazy. But that's kind of how we're tuned to be as nurturers, and we're not trying to destroy everybody's career. We're just trying to like be fair and be treated fair. So it is good to see that the world is changing, and we have great musicians like yourselves who are taking it seriously and imbibing those principles into your music, into your songwriting process. What is coming up for you guys right now? You have anything to share with us that we can look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a bunch of new songs actually that we recorded sort of as a three-piece, and also we've recorded a couple of songs with Alex, our new bass player, that are sounding really, really awesome. So the next thing that is going to be coming out is a song called "Under the Skin." We're sort of working on the video for that. And hopefully we're going to have that out in the next month or so, I would say. No firm date yet, but yeah, "Under the Skin" is a song that is important to me. It's one that musically we all kind of wrote as a band. It sort of started out as as many songs do, as kind of a random riff that we all kind of jumped on and built out. And subject matter wise, I originally was writing something kind of political and dark about it, and Gina was kind of like, maybe the song needs a more positive angle to it. And when he said that, I realized what I needed to do, and so what we ended up writing together was a song that's started out as something very specific, and it was kind of a song that was my way of calling out my friends, my dear friends in the trans and non-binary community, and kind of calling out how awesome they are and how much ass they kick every day. And I kind of realized that there's a broader application to this as well that has to do with owning your own identity in a world that wants to take it away from you a lot of the time.
Right.
And so that's kind of what that song became about. The imagery, in the sort of cover image that we put together for it, and also that's going to be quite prominent in the video. I kind of thought of it as this sort of astronaut allegory of these people going on this really dangerous kind of fraught journey into the unknown, and then finding a new world, and new people to inhabit it with. And right. So yeah, that's kind of where that's headed.
Well, that's so exciting. I'm so glad that, this is happening for you guys, and for all the friends that we all share in the LGBTQ2 community and everywhere. Just diversity is extremely important, and I welcome it, and I'm so grateful that you do too. And where can we find your socials? Where are you?
Yeah, so we're all over the place. We're old, so we're most active on Facebook these days, but I hear that needs to change. So getting more involved in the sort of Instagram I put a couple of things up on TikTok that were kind of funny.
Okay.
I'm still learning, but yeah. So we have our website that has all that stuff on it, which is signal-static.com. And pretty much anywhere you can find us under Signal Static, or Signal_Static is usually our username there.
Okay, great.
But yeah, we've got and of course we're on Spotify and Apple and all of those fun streamers that pay us nothing, but at least make us available to everybody.
Well, I love that. I will definitely be checking that out and waiting to see the new song when it comes out. And I hope that you will come back and share with us when you have some upcoming tours or any shows that are really special to you in the future. And we love to support our local artists. So thanks for being with us on Support the Scene today. And I hope that, people get a chance to come and check out Fifth Chord Studios as well, as where I'm at in New Westminster. What a fantastic place.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It is. It's pretty great. And this is just one corner of the room. You should see the other. You should see the rest of it. Yeah, we do a little bit of jamming here. We do a little bit of recording, a little bit of everything. So they also have their monthly lockouts, which I believe are fully booked. But we've got hourly, and that's what I do. I just come up here on the mic and have a good time and just get back into the music myself. So
it's nice to have a space. We've had the opportunity for the last several years to play to rehearse in a underground storage locker for a sporting goods store. So it's the perfect place to hang out in the zombie apocalypse. Just like two sets of steel doors, and then you have like bikes and skis and elliptical machines, and then over in the corner, oh, it's a band.
I love that. That's a great music video location.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I'll just say real quick, we have our sort of debut show with the new lineup May 13th, and we're playing at the Phoenix Bar and Grill here in Victoria with a band called Pigeon, who are friends of ours as well. So that's super exciting.
Excellent. May 13th. Let's check it out, everybody. So Signal Static, we're looking for you. And thank you from all of us at Support the Scene.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for watching. This is Support the Scene. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, follow, and share.